The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
And then, of course, Mike Zullo, Lieutenant Mike Zullo, the lead investigator of the Sheriff Arpaio investigation. He was on in the first half hour. You might have questions or commentary about any of that. Feel free to call. Now, you know that Mike Zullo and I are very close, and we've done a lot of conferences and traveling together. I happen to be privy to about 98% of everything Mike Zullo knows on this case. Of course, I cannot and will not give any details, but if you have questions or further commentary on that, I would be more than glad to talk to you about that as well. One of the things that I'll catch you up on very, very quickly is that one of the things that he revealed, and this is breaking news. As a matter of fact, he broke it to me I think it was yesterday, and gave it to me. I immediately shot it over to Mike Shoesmith. The folks over at P.P. Simmons went to work on it, got it up on their blog. It immediately was syndicated, went all over the internet. I think some videos were made. The blog announcement went crazy. You can put in the words Alabama Supreme Court, I don't know, Zullo, Arpaio, cooperates, etc., something like that, and you'll find 5 or 6 Google pages where that thing has gone all over the internet. And but the bottom line is, in the Alabama Supreme Court, there is a civil case. It's made its way through the appeals process. Now it's in Judge Roy Moore's court, and that's important because Justice Roy Moore is extremely conservative, and he is on record. Now, he's a fair man. He will go by the law. He will go by the rule of law. And if the people who are taking Obama to task present a sloppy case, he will go by the law. So I admire that about him. However, if these folks will present a good case, a strong case, a legally verified case, then it is before the right court, because Judge Roy Moore is not going to try to explain it away as these other liberal justices have done. Basically nothing but Obama bots in black robes. Judge Roy Moore is not that. As a matter of fact, Justice Roy Moore is on record as having stated that he finds very, very little to no evidence that Obama is even a U.S. citizen. Now, he's on record stating that. But the bottom line is, Mike Zullo gave me this breaking information yesterday that Sheriff Arpaio has asked Mike Zullo and the cold case posse, actually he's ordered them, to cooperate with Justice Roy Moore and that court and the attorney Larry Klayman, who is bringing the case against Obama's eligibility to have been on the Alabama ballot in the presidential elections. So that is huge. Now you might ask, and by the way, if you want to call and ask questions or weigh in on any of this, 623-1330 is the number, area code 850-623-1330. But you might ask, well, so what does this mean? Let's say that the Alabama Supreme Court rules that Obama was not eligible to be on the ballot in Alabama. What does that mean? Well, it's kind of largely symbolic, but it's hugely symbolic, because if that happens, then it will be the first and only court in the land that heard the case on its evidential merits from beginning to end, and a ruling was made that, as a matter of fact, Obama did not present the necessary legal identifying documents to prove his eligibility to be on the ballot in Alabama. Now, if that happens, I imagine it will open a floodgate of other states who would do the same thing, because other states have contemplated it. There are other attorneys and other people in other states who have contemplated, who have talked about, and even have tried to do this in their states. So I just think, especially in light of Benghazi and everything else that's going on, people are just going crazy over what this man is doing to this country. And I think folks will pile on. I think if Judge Roy Moore's court finds against Obama in this case, I think there will be an avalanche, a snowball effect. That's what I believe. I may be wrong. And as a matter of fact, I don't really know how the case is going to be presented. It could be that it falls on its face, technically and legally. I don't know. That's always a possibility when bringing a case before any Supreme Court. The fact that Roy Moore is on that Supreme Court does not guarantee, it's not a slam dunk. I mean, the man is a man of law. He follows the rule of law. So I hope these folks have their act together. Now, as far as Arpaio's investigation goes and Mike Zullo, they've got their act together. I know what's going on there. That's not a question. That's not a problem. That never crossed my mind as being any problem with them. But the thing is, this is a civil case in the Alabama Supreme Court case. Arpaio and Zullo, they're working on a criminal case, criminal activity, fabrication, fraud, forgery, going all the way to the White House and perhaps to Hawaii and Department of Health in Hawaii and maybe other states and big-time officials involved in a potential criminal cover-up and a criminal operation of fabricating, identifying documents. Now, that's huge. And because of the criminal nature of what Arpaio and Zullo and these guys have uncovered and what they're doing and pushing this case forward at the criminal level, because of that, they're going to have to tread very lightly. And you heard, if you listened to the first segment of this show today, you heard Mike Zullo say that they would have to be very, very careful. They would cooperate fully with the Alabama Supreme Court, but they could not give up any evidence that would go towards the criminal case. However, you also heard Mike Zullo say that he believed with all of his heart, and so did Arpaio, that they had plenty of evidence to lend credence to the civil case before the Alabama Supreme Court. So that's going to be extremely interesting. Now, I don't have an exact date on when that case will be heard in Alabama. I think it's within the next few weeks, the next few months at the most. Again, I would have to check that out. Perhaps one of our listeners knows the exact dates on that. I do not. But it's coming soon is the point I'm making. Now, he also made it very clear that not only were they cooperating with Alabama Supreme Court, by the way, this is the first civil case that the cold case posse has involved themselves in. See, that's been the question about why they haven't been involved with Orly Tates. And some people have been mad at Zullo and Arpaio. As a matter of fact, Orly Tates has gone on record being mad at Zullo and Arpaio for not backing her or supporting her. Well, they do support her. They do back her. They're very proud of the work she's done. The problem is everything she has pursued thus far has been civil in nature. And Arpaio and Zullo and the cold case posse, from the get-go, they have been pursuing the criminal angle. So they've been encouraging her to move forward with the civil while they pursue the criminal. Now, in this case, this will be the first civil case that Arpaio investigation gets involved in. And again, Sheriff Arpaio has directed Mike Zullo and the cold case posse to get involved in this case. I think that I'm just speculating now. Mike Zullo has not told me this. Sheriff Arpaio has not told me this. But I think they probably feel very comfortable getting involved in this. Number one, it is monumental. Number two, the possibility of where this will go is huge. And then number three, of course, is the fact that if a ruling does come out of Alabama, this thing could snowball and it could only help their criminal case. Well, let me go to the phone line. Sharon, thank you so much for calling and being a part of the show today. Welcome to Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups. Sharon, what is your question and what's on your mind?
Okay, thank you so much, Carl. I'm listening to your show. I did miss the first hour. I apologize, but I'm listening to every word you're saying now regarding the birth certificate investigation and Mike Zullo. My question for you is regarding the Alabama case. Is there a particular reason that you know of or can say as to why the investigators are going to become involved in this case as opposed to any of the other civil cases that have been launched over the last 4 years or so?
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. Stay on the line so we can chat a little bit. I want you to tell folks who you are. I recognize your voice. I know who you are, and I know the website that you manage, and I want to give some advertising to your website because it's just tremendous. But let me just answer your question. To the best of my ability, now, again, I'm not the official spokesperson for Zullo or Arpaio in this case, but I did interview him in the first 30 minutes, and I have talked with him. It's my understanding, and Mike Zullo can correct me if I say anything wrong, but it is my understanding, Sharon, that they are involving themselves because this case seems so what's the word? Legitimate. In other words, it's coming to the Alabama Supreme Court. Justice Roy Moore is in charge of this. He is a for real guy. He's not one of these liberals in a black robe disguised as a judge that we've been dealing with for 5 years, and you know how frustrating that has been. But
yes.
But Justice Moore is a real guy. Now, he'll go by rule of law. If they don't present, if the attorney and the people bringing this case don't present a good case, Judge Moore will rule against them. But the bottom line is that I believe that they're willing to cooperate in this because it's so monumental. If a ruling comes out against Obama that he has not provided official documentation of identification, that only bolsters the criminal case, because that's what Arpaio and Zullo have been saying all along. This guy has no identifying documents, and the only one he has presented, criminal activity, went into the presentation of it. So I think that this is just, I think they see it that way, Sharon. That's what I believe.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you very much for that explanation. Do you have any idea when the case is going to be actually heard?
You know, I just addressed that before I picked up the phone with you, so you probably didn't hear that. I don't know. Hold on just a minute. Did you have 6? Okay. She's got, all right. My producer has found out something. She's getting ready to tell me in just a moment, so we might have that information. And by the way, Sharon, we're going to have to take a break in a second. So let me, before we do, I'm going to get you to tell the folks you are the editor of...
It's the Post and Email, www.postemail.com. It's an electronic newspaper, and we cover corruption in government and specifically the Obama eligibility identity issue.
Yeah, fantastic, Sharon. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for being a part of the show.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.